Welcome
Hey,
back
welcome
to the
Hi.
Brunch Beauty Life Podcast. Make sure you're following us on all platforms. Click that like and that subscribe button below. I'm your host, Connie, the Inspiring Stylist.
And I am Ashley, naturally Ashley Rowe, and we're here
back.
today. We're back. Yay.
With another one.
Another one. DJ Khaled voice.
And another one.
Big on the Khaled.
Yes.
I just also want to say that when you guys are going to our social media, we will also be providing all the places that we go to spend time together and to hang out. And some of them are Black-owned business. A good bit of them are Black-owned businesses.
Yes.
So make sure that you check that out. Make sure you continue to like and subscribe.
And share.
We are available on YouTube and Spotify.
And soon to be other platforms.
Yay!
All right. So today we have terms and conditions.
Terms and conditions. That's that little part of everything that you get via, your Apple subscription or anything like that, that has this whole long list of terms and conditions that you probably don't fully read.
Right. We like to skim to the bottom and just sign.
I don't even skim. For my Apple stuff, I just hit agree.
I mean, now, side note for Apple users, do we really have a choice?
You don't have a choice, but I don't read it. I just was like...
I mean, we have a choice to read it, but do we really have a choice on whether we accept it or not? I mean, because, if you don't accept it, you don't get this update.
That's true.
So,
but
most times I don't think we actually read it because it just be so long. But
it is very long.
But
it's important.
It is important, just like it is when it comes to life and business. So before we get into the life part of things, let's talk about the business aspect of terms and conditions. Mm-hmm. So going into a salon, I've seen over the years where we go into a salon, and this is just speaking from the perspective of being a stylist looking for a job, right?
Right.
You go into a salon and you're just so eager to work that you're just willing to, hey, the salon is hiring. Hey, you're hiring? Yeah, we're hiring. Okay, you go in, you may do an interview, you may not. It might just be, hey, just show up on the scene and pull up and you just start working. But where is the actual conversation about terms and conditions? Like, what is it like to work here? What are your expectations of me as a stylist? What is my expectations that I can expect from you as my boss? Like, what am I receiving? Like, those terms and conditions. Yeah. And I think, unfortunately, in a lot of hair salons, there are no terms and conditions. There's no written policy of what's expected from you as a stylist. There's really nothing written to what's expected from your boss, right? And we just kind of...
That's a good one.
We just kind of sign up unknowingly.
Well, I will say, and a lot of times when I talk about my experience at Lucky You, a lot of times people are like, oh, you're always talking about Lucky You and you're talking about TK and Connie. Well, that is my only salon experience as a stylist. Mm-hmm. So that's all that I can reference to. And I will say that when it came time for you guys to give me the terms and conditions, you did. They had a salon policy based upon the whole salon, and then they had a policy based upon you as a stylist. So from there, I knew what the terms and conditions were for me to be a stylist, in your salon. Mm-hmm. And, you have a choice. And most times as a stylist, you are an independent contractor.
Yes.
Whether or not you are commissioned or whether or not you're booth rent. Mm-hmm. So you have a choice. You could either sign it and be there, or you could say, oh, no. Right. Rip it up and go about your way. But it is best that you read the terms and conditions before you decide whether or not you want to be there or not. And I know that I thoroughly read the terms and conditions. And the reason why it's important to do so, there's different things with all businesses, not just in a salon, where they have one thing that I saw was the non-compete clause. Mm-hmm. So it meant that the stylist
Tell
or
'em what it
the
meant.
stylist that's working there, the clients that they have received from being at the business. So they don't belong to the stylist, they belong to the business. And as you leave, it does not mean that you are guaranteed to take your clients with you. So that's an example of making sure that you read the terms and conditions and understand what you're signing to say that you're going to do. Now, y'all are very gracious.
On the flip side of that term and the condition.
And also the fact that it wasn't necessarily a compete because I was still in the same building. So the clients were staying inside. So it's just different things that you need to make sure that you read and understand to know if this is where you want to conduct your business at. Because as an independent contractor, it's a business for you as well.
Yes.
This is your business.
Absolutely.
So you need to make sure that you understand all the terms. Also, another thing that was in the policy was about being part of a team and teamwork. And what does that mean and what does that look like on a regular day? That meant that you're responsible to wipe down the bottom of the chairs. You're responsible to clean the salon. You're responsible to do the towels. You're responsible to make sure that the barber side is 100% ready for clients. So you had a responsibility to not just come and show up and do clients and be like, I'm out.
Deuce.
You had responsibilities otherwise to make sure that you are being towards a team player at the salon.
Absolutely.
So it's about, none of the things that were put inside the policy, at least to me, were to my detriment. It was things that was required and, expected of me on how I should perform and how I should conduct myself at the salon. There was also a clause about dress code. So, and it's necessary, right? Because, as a professional, regardless if it's the hair industry or any other industry, you should have a code of conduct or a code of dress of how you're supposed to, appear at the business.
Right.
So it was a whole lot of things within there, and you have a right to decide how you want to proceed. Do you want to go with the code, go with the policy, or shoot your shot somewhere else?
Right. And let me just interject how we even got to that point. I've worked in a total of, 3 salons before I started my own thing. The first salon that I worked in, I was actually still in cosmetology school, and it was just like a show up situation. And I really didn't like the flow of things, of, how they did things. So, I just learned very quickly that wasn't the salon for me.
Yeah.
The second salon that I worked in, that's my boss lady, Miss Shirley.
Hey, Miss Shirley. We always say, hey, Miss Shirley, because Miss Shirley is awesome. Hey, Miss Shirley.
She is the reason of why I am and who I am today.
All right.
But now, Miss Shirley didn't have a actual policy that I had to read and sign, right? But she had a verbal expectation. She told me this is what it is. And she expected me to be here. Even if I didn't have clients, I still needed to show up to show that this is where I wanted to be, because you never knew when you was going to have a walk-in or not, right?
And it shows commitment.
And it shows commitment. It shows that dedication. If she was willing to invest into me, she needed to see that I was willing to be invested into her business.
Yeah.
But also with Miss Shirley, I remember, and this happened when I was on maternity leave, I entrusted my full clientele to this stylist, because this particular stylist was willing to work the hours that I had laid out for my clients. I was that stylist that came in at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. Not everybody's willing to do that.
That ain't me.
But while I was on maternity leave, this lady did. And 3 weeks into my maternity leave, Miss Shirley called me and she's like, you need to come back. She was like, because this stylist left.
3 weeks?
3 weeks. She called me and said, you need to come back because this stylist left and opened up a salon right down the street. cut her prices, did the whole cutthroat thing, and basically was like, you don't have a clientele to come back to. So you need to come back in here and start answering the phones, right? So that was just kind of more of that mental note, like, dang, there was like some type of written agreement put into place. She wouldn't have been able to do that. And if she had did it, then, there would have been maybe some legal action that could have been taken against her, because it's a written policy that you read and signed. But it was none of that. So there was really nothing that could be done.
Absolutely.
The third salon that I worked in, it wasn't the same experience that I got from Miss Shirley. When I started working there, I was told that I was going to come in under a 30-day probation period. And with this 30-day probation period, I was going to be making $8 an hour. And then after that, I would transition into commission, which was 50, 60, 70% based off of my like gross sales, right? So if I hit a certain threshold, I would get 50%, next threshold 60%, and then 70% for the next threshold, which, okay, sounding good. And I'm new here in Charlotte. I don't know anybody.
You're trying to build.
And I'm trying to build. So $8 I was like, whoo, jeez, I ain't make that since I was like 17, that I was but, I saw the bigger picture and what this salon had to offer. It had the popularity, it had the clientele base. So I knew if I could tough it out for 30 days, I was going to be good. I was going to, hit the floor running, right? After my 30 days was up, there was a conversation about me transitioning into now being a commission-based stylist. And that week, I was like, yep, put everything on my books, everything, because I knew I was ready for this commission. I was ready to hit these thresholds and kill it. And I killed it.
Okay.
But that's not but that was not the paycheck that I received.
Oh.
The paycheck that I received was based off $8 an hour. And, I was like, hey.
Something funny with the money.
I was like, hey, I received my paycheck and I see that, I was paid by the hour, but this was the week that I was supposed to start commission. And the conversation was like, oh, no, we never had that conversation. So, it put me in a very bad financial situation. Like, I was already struggling at $8 an hour. Like, every penny counted to pay my rent. And that literally put me in a situation that I almost got, like, evicted out of my apartment. It was like crazy. And then at that point, I didn't really have nowhere else to go, and I still saw the potential that the salon had to offer. So the conversation then went like, listen, I need this in writing. Because what we're not going to do is another 30 days go by, another week or two go by, and I'm still getting paid $8 an hour when that's not what we talked about.
That's crazy.
So then when she put it in writing, it went from the 50, 60 to 70% threshold to 50, 55, 60. And I was like, that ain't what we talked about. This is not what I signed up for, in our initial interview. So then we rewrote the agreement to like, no, you're going to give me what we talked about. And so we put it in writing. And then I stayed there for almost a year. I didn't even make it a year because at that point it was just other things that were happening.
Like
and I was just,
as well. That like... reneging on the negotiations.
It was like strike 1, 2, 3.
Some type of way.
Right. So, after that, I went into my own salon suite, and it was just a mental note of, one day when I get my salon, it won't be no questions, right? This will already be like laid out to what we're agreeing to. It's going to be on paper, and that way we can agree. There's no disagreement because this is what we agree to, even down to clients when we talk about terms and conditions. Everything in our salon policy for the client to sign is because somebody down the years, frankly, has pissed me off.
Exactly. But that's something that I also talked about when I worked in retail.
Right.
Whenever I did orientations and when I worked in retail, they would be like, oh, that's so absurd. Like, why would you need to say that? Why would you need to put that in a policy? And I was like, well, the reason why this is a policy
because it's happened.
is because somewhere down the line, someone has done this. So unfortunately for you, if you're trying to do the same, you won't be able to do that, player. So, really, it's always about a policy exists because at some point, someone has done said thing. So don't be afraid to use your experiences, although it may be like, I really did not want to go through that experience, but it's a learning experience. It's a growth experience. And you can use that then to make that into your policies, regardless of the industry. So when we're talking about terms and conditions, we're talking about it from the salon aspect because that's what we do. But this is for anyone that's having a business or conducting themselves in business with other businesses.
Right.
You need to make sure that you understand the terms and conditions to which the relationship applies.
Absolutely.
You cannot just go in there and be like, oh, the strength of your word. No. You need to have things in writing and you need to make sure that it's clear. And
Very
just like
clear.
Connie did with the situation at that salon, she was like, no, this is not what we talked about. So this needs to be inside this contract that we're signing. And always remember, if you are independent as far as business wise, you are an independent contractor.
And even if you are an employee, right? Because there are some salon businesses that are set up to where they're not independent contractors and they have employees. It's still the same thing.
Salon is rich. I mean, they offering healthcare benefits.
I mean, but that's the thing, right? Some salons may have employees, but they may not have those type of benefits. Or
right now, we like bridesmaids for me and my business.
You're so silly.
Poor.
I don't do not claim that. We do not profess that.
We get off and
But even as an employee, if you're going to be an employee of a salon, you still need to know, like, you need to know that. And like a salon, I would like to say that we're very flexible, not like corporate America, right?
Concur that you guys are.
Right. So we come to you in this term. So, hey, these are our business hours. We work Tuesday through Saturday, Tuesday through Friday from 9 to 5, Saturdays from 9 to 2, right?
Right.
Can you commit to this? Yes. Then that is my expectation of you. This is what's going to be written down in our agreement. This is what you're committing to.
I would even challenge to say not just can you commit, but will you?
Yeah, but will you, right?
Will you commit?
Because you probably can, but the will too, right? Because then that goes into, well, I didn't have any clients today, so, but no, that's not what we talked about.
That's more of a can. Like, can I be there, but will I be there? And it's very important to understand your will I be there.
Right.
Will I do what is necessary? Will I put myself in a position?
Will I be a team player?
Exactly. Because saying that you can you sweep? Can you wipe down the bases
I can, but am I?
Can you? But will you?
Right.
Will you do that when there's no clients there? Will you do that, in between clients when your client is under the dryer? Sometimes you want to sit down, but you've committed via signing those terms and conditions that you are saying that you're going to be a team player. So will you honor what you said that you were going to do in those terms and conditions? So I really think it's important to fully understand and be in compliance. And if you're not in compliance and wanting to get information, do not do it.
And as the stylist, it's okay to negotiate your terms too, right? Yeah. Because not all commission salons are created equal. I know one thing in our salon that we're willing to do is pay for education. Right?
They did it for me. Thank you, God.
Right. We believe in bettering our stylists. So if there's that class,
have taken that and paid it forward because that was a strong blessing for me. Starting off in this industry, not necessarily having all that, and especially when I transitioned from. This actually was before I transitioned, so I was still working full time at my retail management job. I ain't gonna tell you the company. I love the way they're closed still though. But, it was a blessing to be able to say, like, they were like, okay, so you want to take a specialized locking class? We ain't gonna say that. I wasn't gonna say that. I'm not trying to get no problems. And they were like, okay, so we will pay for half of the class. And I was like, say what now? Mm-hmm. But inside their salon policy, it states that they will take care of education because we need to have that. As a stylist, and this is just in this industry, make sure you know about it for your other industries, you're required to have a certain amount of continuing education units. Mm-hmm. And they made sure to provide us with those things, not one, for our licenses, but two, to make sure that we were constantly in the know of all the latest things to make ourselves successful.
Exactly.
So as a new stylist, getting someone to believe in me that much to help me advance in my education. And not only did they pay for half my class, but you guys also sent me down with some gas money. And they were like, where are you going to stay? I was like, I'm going to go stay with my mama. It's in Charleston.
You're right.
I was like, I'm not staying anywhere. But they were very willing to make sure that I had everything I need because it was not only benefiting me, but it was benefiting their business.
Right.
So,
that comes with a policy, right? We're not just going to pay for the class, right? We're not just going to send you to this class with no type of agreement. And usually, for the most part, our agreements come with a time. Like, can you see, one of the questions that we always ask, can you see yourself being here for a year, 2 years, right? Because that kind of gives, it kind of lets us know where your mindset is at. And it also lets us know how we would be willing to invest into this particular stylist. If you don't see yourself being here that long, then you can't come ask us to pay for a $2,000 class in full. Like, you're not going to be here that long. So why would we do that, right? But if you can honestly say, hey, yes, you know what? I see myself being here for 2 years, and I'm willing to sign this contract agreement that states that I can see myself here for, 2 years. And if I were to leave in a couple of months, I understand I owe you this back in full. If I were to leave in a year, I understand I owe you back half of this, or so forth and so forth.
That is actually what was in the policy. And I appreciate it. And I thought it was fair. Yeah. So when you're also making these policy considerations for your terms and conditions, make sure it's fair. Mm-hmm. You have to be fair to the person and also fair to yourself. Mm-hmm. Because with companies, what I've learned from working in different industries and working for different companies is that people do not work for companies, people work for people. Mm-hmm. So if you're fair to the person, they're going to, and you get their buy-in, they're going to work for you. Mm-hmm. Your name may be great, and it's definitely going to yield that attraction, when you're starting off and someone's like, oh, where do you work at? And you're like, lucky you. And they're like, oh my God, I know, and I've heard of it, right? That's great. But that name helped me get the clients in the door. Mm-hmm. But the fairness that you guys had kept me in the position as a stylist. Mm-hmm. And working for you and Tika kept me in the position to stay at Lucky You. Mm-hmm. So it got me to buy into the mission of Lucky You because you guys embodied that daily. So you have to be the embodiment of what you want your business to be. You cannot just say, oh, here we're doing this and we're doing that, and then you don't do any of those things at all. You're not fair. You're not ready to help and grow that person, and you're only looking out for yourself.
Right. So because you can sense that when someone is only looking out for themselves. The third salon, the last salon that I worked in, that's how I felt. It was about, what she had going on. It didn't really matter at what expense it cost the stylist. It was about what her and her business had going on. And it wasn't fair, because like I said, I know we had a conversation. I was like, listen, whatever your financial issues you got going on ain't got nothing to do with me. This is what we talked about, and your financial issues can't be my financial issues, because this is what we talked about. Honor the terms and agreement. And as a stylist, everything is negotiable. Yes. Even when it comes down to like a raise, right? Mm-hmm. You get raises periodically, throughout the year or years, however long you're there, you get raises based off of you taking initiative to do things. But when it comes to a raise, we may say, hey, we're going to give you a 3% raise. You may say, hey, you know what? I think I deserve a 5% raise because
15.
You know what I'm saying? Because this is what I'm doing, blah, 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 blah. And if you can really show up and show out and prove that case, you very well may be entitled to that.
What's interesting is that I never asked for a raise.
I mean, because you just got it.
I never asked for it. Yeah. I was just under the position of like, I'm just happy to be here. And when you guys would pull me in to have those conversations, I was like, oh Lord, what did I do now? Let me plan on how I'm gonna pack my bags so nobody see me leave. I was like, I didn't know what was gonna happen. Y'all were like, oh no, we just want to acknowledge the great work that you're doing, and we see your time frames improving, we see your skill improving, so we want to know that we are raising your commission to the XYZ, and we're also offering this incentive package towards you. I was like, I get to keep my job and get incentives.
Hello. Right.
It was like, really great for me. So, but I appreciated the fact that y'all even gave that as an option. So that's how you get the buy-in for your people to stay with you, is that you constantly think of ways to be innovative to make sure that stylist, or make sure the person who's working for you, has the opportunity and possibility of succeeding within your establishment.
It's all about the growth.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to, be a part of a team and be able to feel like they're contributing to the growth of that team. And to be able to grow within the company. When you feel like there's no more growth, most of the time a stylist will leave because they feel like they haven't grown. And I know in our business, we like to create multiple opportunities for that room to grow. Now, we understand we can't keep everybody. And we're not trying to block anybody. So yes, while we have the non-compete agreement, you're not going to be here doing hair and then go home and do hair. That's a conflict of interest, because are you taking clients from here and doing it there? It's just too much, and we don't tolerate it. But if you've put in your time and you've been a great stylist, yes, we have the non-compete clause to, these clients technically don't belong to you and we have the right to keep them. But we're not trying to block you. You've been great to us. You put in your time. We will bless you with the clientele.
And boy, did they bless.
Now on the flip side, we've had stylists in the past that have left. And at the end of the day, clients are going to go where they want to go. As a business, we're going to respectfully do the right thing. We're going to notify the clients, let them know, like, hey, your stylist as of this date will no longer be with us. Would you like to continue your services here with us, right? And if the stylist says, well, no, if the client says, well, no, I prefer to, stick with that stylist, we're not going to hold nobody back, because we don't operate in the compete mode. We operate in abundance mode. There's enough to go around for everyone. So
Can you repeat that?
We don't operate in the compete mode. We operate in the abundance mode. There is enough to go around for everybody. There are people constantly moving into Charlotte every single day looking for stylists. So we're not here to hold anybody back. All we ask for is the respect. Right? We put that on the front side in the interview process. We let people know, like, hey, we are here for you. We are here to help you grow. There's no need to be backstabbing. Like, yeah, girl, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to be leaving next week. They don't know yet, but I'm just going to up and leave. For what? Now you do something like that, then we're going to come to bat and we're going to stand behind the policy of which you signed, the terms and the conditions of which you signed. Because see, now you're being shady, and it doesn't have to be that way. Just keep it real, even if it's not working for you. We understand.
I will be honest, and that was just even something that I did in my own other professions. I gave like a month notice to help be able to train the person who was coming up behind me, and to make sure that they were secure and taken care of before I left. And when I told you guys of my desire to be on my own,
that damn COVID.
I didn't. It wasn't underhanded. I wasn't talking to clients behind your back. I just literally had that feeling, and I voiced it. And I think that because I did it in that way and that was respectful and loving of the relationship that we had established, you guys, they did not stop with giving and helping and growing me even after I left you. So what she's saying is not just about the fact of honoring the terms and conditions, but also not knocking your blessings that could be poured towards you going forward.
Absolutely.
Because
yes,
they
Preach.
have not only helped me as a stylist growing, but they've helped me in my own business. You know, even knocking down walls that was not even thought of for them to do. So I appreciate that, but it's also about the fact that I've never been underhanded. I've always been upfront. I've always been, hey, you know, I'm wanting to be with you guys. I want to ride with you. I'm not trying to abandon ship and do anything like that. I just want to make sure that I'm still part of the team. And in that aspect, they definitely continue to pour blessings upon me. So you want to make sure as you're going through terms and conditions in business that you, one, make sure you understand the terms and conditions.
Okay.
Two, make sure that they are very detailed and very close to what you feel is for your business and is fair to yourself and the other person. And three, that you do not knock your blessings in the same fact of honoring or being a part of terms and conditions.
And let me add to that. 4, ask questions.
Yes.
Do not, when you're reading through the terms and the policy, don't assume that whatever you think is what it means.
Well, you know what they say about assuming.
You know what they say. So don't assume. We're just we're just gonna say that. Don't assume. Always ask questions. And now flipping it from like stylists working in a salon, customers, right? You go into a salon and they have all of these policies. If you're 15 minutes late, this could happen. Or your appointment could be canceled, or it could be a late fee, a no-show fee, or, you know, whatever, right? You have these whole list of things when it comes to the clients. But one time I had a client challenge me, and she said, well, you know, I read your policy and I understand, I agree, I don't disagree with anything. But she said, you know, as a new customer, with me having to put down a non-refundable deposit for my first appointment to secure my spot, she said, what happens if the stylist cancel my appointment? You know, she like, what happens if you cancel my appointment? Now the chances of me canceling is not likely, because I know the stylist that I am. Like, I don't cancel appointments. If I cancel an appointment, it's a dire emergency. But I understood where she was coming from, and I said, listen, in the event that you have put down a non-refundable deposit towards your appointment, and your stylist, whether it's me or a different stylist servicing you, cancels your appointment, our first protocol, of course, is to get you still in the same day, perhaps with a different stylist. But if that doesn't happen, there's no flexibility for you to come for another day, or you just say, hey, you know what, I want a refund. This is like the one, you know, fine print line of which we will honor a refund.
Monopoly get out of jail free card.
You know, right. The one good time, because, you know, that's fair. And that was a fair question. And that policy has been in for years, and I probably would say T and I have been business partners for 10 years. I mean, that was probably like 7 years into business before someone as a client actually asked me, well, what happens if you cancel? What happens if your stylists are 15 minutes or 20 or 30 minutes late and I decide to stay for my appointment? We're fair. So this is the same policy we uphold our clients to. It's the same policy we uphold our stylists to.
Exactly. And so what that means is, as we were talking in previous episodes about people being like, why do I have to do this? And why do I have to pay that? And why da, 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 da? If that is their policy, read the policy. And also don't be afraid to ask questions. But if the questions does not and the answers does not fit your needs, it is fair game to go somewhere else. You can go where you feel comfortable and feel that you'll be honored.
Right. And there's always no pressure or obligation. Like we tell clients, especially, you know, for sister locks, because that is a pretty pricey service. Yes, like, before you put down this non-refundable deposit of half, take some time, think about it, before you make a decision, because once you set this day and put down this deposit, it's not refundable.
I like to give 24 hours.
Give some time. Think about it.
Some time to think about it. I won't even take their deposit, regardless if there's like 100%. I'm sure, I'm firm. I will not take their deposit that day. I'm like, I'm thankful and I'm happy that you like it and you want to go with me, but I still need you to observe your 24 hours and call me back tomorrow. Yep. And they will call right back tomorrow.
I'm ready.
But I just make sure that they have it and make sure that it's something that they want to do. But we talked about all of that with terms and conditions in business. But what about life? What about friendships? What about relationships? What does terms and conditions look like there?
Well, I think it applies 100%, especially in relationships. Like, a lot of people just jump into relationship these days and, later on be like, oh, this isn't what I signed up for. But did you really, like, not know what you were signing? You didn't know what you were signing up for because you never really took the time to ask, what am I signing? I like to know, like, if we were to be together, if we decided to get into a relationship, what does that mean? Like, what does that look like? Does the expectation change? Because sometimes as a friend, you know, we're friends. So it's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, we're getting to know each other, blah, 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 whatever, right? Yeah. But then if you get into a relationship, there might be certain expectations.
Yes. So how this even came up. Because, again, we're real friends.
Right.
Right? We're real friends. So...
For real.
We were having a conversation and I was telling her about an experience with someone that I know and someone that is from my past. And, like, just being like, I'm really confused. I'm very much, I've known this person for more than half of my life. And, all those things are there, but there's some differences. And Connie brought to me, well, what are the terms and conditions that you would feel comfortable with engaging in a relationship or anything further with that person? And I actually didn't really think about it. I thought and I knew and I gave her what some of the person's terms were and conditions were, but not fully getting into all the details of that. And
because we need to know what that looks like. Like, we can't assume, again, right? We can't assume what we think it is for this person. We need to, like, know examples, clear cut, dry. I mentioned to her earlier, I got into a relationship. This was like way, way, way back in the day. And in the midst of the relationship, maybe like 2 months in, I started receiving these phone calls like, hello. I'm like, hello? You're like, hello? I'm like, hello? And I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, where are you? And they're like, I'm somewhere in the middle of nowhere. No, I drank a whole caseload of beer, and I was just like, what in the world? Like, what is going on, right? And so I later found out that this person was bipolar, suicidal, had wrote me like a suicidal letter, as well as, their mother and sister and brother. And I'm like, I didn't sign up for this. This is something you should have told me before we got together that, hey, I have this going on with me. I could get extremely depressed, blah, 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 blah. And let me decide whether or not I want to take that on. Yeah. We're early on into a relationship. I don't want to take that on. It's not my responsibility. I don't need to be, stressed out because, you are about to do things. And just FYI, if anyone watching this is suicidal or know someone that is suicidal, go get help. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Go get help. Let me just say that. I'm not bashing anybody.
Yeah, we're not bashing, but
it's just a matter of, like, you need to tell, if you're extremely clingy, I need to talk to you every hour on the hour of the day. I need to know that because I the way my life is set up, I can't do that.
Well, I will even throw in mine. I was in a relationship where my partner was not very affectionate. We did the love language quiz, and we both were online on par with quality time, but my next was like physical touch, and physical touch was like at the bottom 2 for him. And when we were already in a relationship at that point. So, and I got feedback from a friend. She was like, "Don't be so focused on those love language quiz," but it really did make a difference because he was not physically affectionate, whereas that is something that I needed to feel secure and loved in the relationship. So I didn't, I'd already agreed to be in a relationship with him. Mm-hmm. But had I known that that was going to go that way and had my terms and conditions, right, I might not have signed on that line. He was awesome. He was amazing. He was a great friend, great communicator. I will say in that relationship, I definitely learned how to communicate with a partner. That was, I think, what I needed to take away is how to be in a relationship with someone and how to be a great communicator. But what I also learned, just like you said, is understanding and knowing those terms and conditions. Because if those were the terms and conditions that he was giving out of where to, like, it got to a point where there was, it's crazy to say, that he would be like, okay, so when we see each other this weekend, it's going to be like 5 hugs today.
So you had a 5 hug limit?
Yes, on a 5 hug limit. We can hold hands for, 20 seconds. And I'm sitting here like counting seconds because I need them all, right?
Oh, you answered your phone. You responded to a text. I got 5 more seconds left.
Exactly. And, I was like, but no, I want someone to affectionately love me freely. So really understanding what's your terms and conditions with relationships, but it also goes towards friendships. So one of the best things about my best friend, Catherine, hey, Kat.
Hey, I know her too. Hey, girl.
Is that our terms and conditions, I made terms and conditions with us because I valued our friendship. So one day I sat her down and I was like, okay, how are we going to handle situations such as, like, if I hear your boyfriend is out somewhere, if I see him out somewhere, what do you want me to do? How do you want me to maneuver? Do you want me to tell you? Do you want me not to tell you? Do you want me to check him? Do you want me not to? How do you do that? Because I valued our friendship so much, and I knew that I would say this in these threes, that you don't mess with no woman about her mama, her man, and her child. Well, I'll even say her mama, her significant other, and her child, because women date a whole bunch of spectrums, right? And I was like, I don't want any of those things to come in between our friendship because I care and I love it so much. So what are our terms and conditions with our friendship?
I think that's
we
good.
Went through it and really kind of talked through different scenarios and situations so that we can be clear on what each other wanted, so we knew how to maneuver during that.
I think that's really good to know that. Because I could think of a friend that was back in high school where I told her, because I'm thinking we're friends, and I saw something, and she got mad at me, you know, and I was like, well, dang, like, I thought we were better than that. So that is really good to know, even in certain situations, and this just relationships, friendships, businesships, like death, right, or certain emotional situation, because I'm not necessarily the one that's just going to, like, go in for a hug all the time, right? But, I'm like, hey, I need to know if you ever came to me just snot nose, crying, boo-hoo-hoo tears, I need to know, how do you need me to respond to you, right?
Yes.
In that moment, because my natural response, I don't want to, offend. So it is good to have that communication, to just know and understand what is expected from you. What do you expect from that person? Because when you kind of already know, then you take out the guesswork. Yes. Or in a relationship, but being in a committed relationship, you already know, and it's not that constant battle of trying to, figure it out, because most of the time, so it's good to really ask those questions or just play with scenarios and just kind of fill it out and talk about it.
Yeah, because, I value my friendships, especially when you got a real one, right?
Hey, when you got a real one.
You're my real one. And, you never know what someone's line is and where is the line that they don't want you to cross.
Yeah, those boundaries.
There's boundaries. So really making sure that you're applying, I've said this in an earlier podcast, I believe that what you apply to one aspect of your life,
it goes
across all. And if you don't have regulations and boundaries with it, it will be that way in other areas of your life. So I'm just making sure that, we have terms and conditions. But now that we brought that up and you gave me your 2 cents, I'm going to do my due diligence and how I maneuver in my next steps and phases. But don't forget, guys, I'm turning 40 soon. Just threw that out there.
Make sure you following us on Brunch Beauty Life Podcast on all platforms. I love how this conversation went in terms and conditions. I know we could go on and on and on, but then it's going to be an hour, 2 more hours, and then 3 more hours.
And Sean get tired and be like, "Oh my God,
like wrap this up." No, just like so. Tune in. We'll definitely probably do some more talking about terms and conditions on just other aspects of life, other aspects of business. But shoot.
Hey.
I think that was good.
Also, make sure, again, that you can email us your questions. So,
especially if you have specific questions or different topics or scenarios or anything that you want to hear, let us know.
Exactly. Don't forget to subscribe, follow us, and we will be back to see you soon.
Yes, we will. I am Connie, the Inspiring Stylist.
And I am Ashley, Naturally Ashley Rowe, and this is Brunch Beauty Life Podcast.
Until next time, peace.
Bye.